Story 1. I, a 25-year-old woman, begged my partner, a 28-year-old man, for an open relationship 8 months into our relationship. He left me. 8 months ago, I asked my partner, a 28-year-old man, for an open relationship because I got bored with him. There was nothing wrong with him. He just didn't excite me that much anymore. He agreed, but he told me there was a condition. If he caught feelings for another partner, he would leave me for her. That is exactly what happened. He left me for his new partner, a 28 to 29-year-old woman, and now I want him back in my arms. What can I do to win back the love of my life? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Not gonna lie, that's the ultimate reverse card for this situation. Big ups your ex. The author. Really? Commenter 2. Ha. Good for him. Get a therapist to help you work on yourself so you learn to end an unhealthy relationship instead of pretending to be poly. The author. I have been in and out of therapy for at least a year now. Commenter 3. Yes, really. You played yourself. He didn't excite you, so you asked for an open relationship. And now you want him back when he caught feelings for someone else while in the open relationship that you asked for in the first place. You only have yourself to blame for this one. You should stay single for a while and grow up. The author. I don't want to be single. I want to prove to my boyfriend I can be better now. Commenter 4. Open relationship view. I needed that laugh. But seriously though, kudos to those who are able to make it work. But seriously, author, you need to stay the fuck away from your former significant other. An open relationship is no way to fix a relationship. You may have loved him at the start, but when you decided that was what you needed, you ended your relationship. He is hopefully now in a loving, committed relationship with someone who loves him and not you because you got bored. You need to move on, maybe work on some inner insecurities in order to have a loving relationship with another person down the line. Good luck, for what it's worth. The author. I can't. He's my entire life. We were the kids next door, elementary buddies, high school sweethearts. He and I are one. Commenter 5. It sounds like he warned you clearly that he didn't want an open relationship and would use the opening of yours as a chance to meet new people to move on with, and you ignored him. There's really no fixing this without a time machine. The author. Why'd he wait 8 months to leave me then? Update 1. Probably nobody asked for this, but here's an update. I was kicked out of his house last Sunday. That's 6 days now. And I am excruciatingly missing him. I will do anything to get him to return to me. But he looks happy on social media with his new partner that I'm pretty sure he was cheating on me with. Anyways, I tried calling him, no answer. I saw him in public, and he pretended to not even know who the fuck I was. He won't acknowledge my existence, so I went to our former place just to talk, and things got hostile. His new girlfriend hates me for some reason. I didn't even know her, and she proceeded to try and attack me, while he tried to split us up and get me out the door. When he had his back turned, she maced me. And now he's trying to file a restraining order on me. The hell did I do wrong? She attacked me and pepper sprayed me. How can I convince him he's dating a psychopath? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why do you want someone who you are? Bored with him. Nothing wrong, but he just didn't excite me much. The author. I just wanted us to have no strings attached relationships, so when we got back together, the spark would be back. Commenter 2. You got what you wanted, and if anyone sounds like a psychopath, it's you, who is stalking their ex. Seek some mental help or do some inner reflection, but most importantly, leave the man alone and move on. The author. Stalking? I previously lived at that residence. Commenter 2. Are you still a resident there? No, you're not. He's the owner of the property, and yes, it's stalking. Continue to press it, and he is well within his rights to have you trespassed. The author. Our names are on the lease, and he hasn't bought out my half. Commenter 3. You need to leave him alone. This isn't going to end well for you. The author. I can't walk away until this is fixed. Commenter 4. So I hate to say it, but you are responsible for him leaving you, and you need to just let it go. I saw your original post, but you can't sit there and say you got bored with him, wanted to fuck other men, then he finds someone he falls for and leaves you, and now you're trying to get him back. I'm sorry, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. This is why people need to truly think about an open relationship, because if you're just trying to get your rocks off, well, it's called talking to your partner about your needs instead of just saying you want other men. At this point, it's over, you need to accept it, and just go on with your life. The author. My life's over. Before I opened my mouth, we were having the marriage and children talks. Commenter 5. And if it was an open relationship, then how was it cheating? The author. Because he left me within 8 months. That's way too fast. Commenter 6. You brought this all on yourself. He didn't cheat on you. You asked for an open relationship. This is the result. He dumped you for someone that loves and respects him. The only course of action you have open to you now is to walk away and get therapy. The author. I'm in therapy already. Correction. He was dating a psycho LOL. Leave that man alone. Learn from your fuck up and do better next time. The author. Referring to me? Update 2. 1 week later. My ex followed through with his restraining order on me. This will probably be the last update. The restraining order has been filled, and I am not allowed within 100 feet of my ex Harry and his new girlfriend Jess. I'm planning to move back to my home in Arizona and start over. They're happy, and I just want to find peace with myself. Thanks for everyone's advice and opinions. Yes, I was already in therapy, and I am still in therapy. Please, anyone my age or younger, listen to my advice. TikTok is not cool. Please delete it. It's done me nothing but harm, and other people's stupidity can really poison your minds. I am living proof. Top comments. Commenter 1. To recap. You wanted an open relationship. He said yes, but made it clear that if he developed feelings for someone else, he would do the right thing and end the relationship instead of having an emotional affair. You agreed to that. Then he did develop a connection with someone and realized the relationship needed to end. He was upfront with you and told you he wanted to move on. After that, you blamed wanting the open relationship on your ADHD, saying you were bored. You then tried to claim he cheated, even though you were the one who asked for the open relationship. You went to his house to start a confrontation, and when you refused to leave, his new partner rightfully used mace to make you go. You called her a psychopath, even though you were the one repeatedly harassing them. You believe he was wrong for getting a restraining order against you, despite the fact that you were the aggressor. And now, you're blaming TikTok for your own actions. Did that sum it all up? Commenter 2. This all started because TikTok told you to open your relationship? Honestly though, I hope you're able to build yourself a solid mental foundation before falling into another relationship. Update 3. A bit more than 2 years later. It's been 2 years. I've tried to stay offline and live my life, but my ex and his now wife still find new ways to live in my head rent-free. I wanted an open relationship, so what? You don't just string me along for 8 months, get some new girl who you met through me, and then marry her. This isn't fair. She's living in my home with someone who should be my husband, and he's been renewing the restraining order ever since it first expired. I know he's going to keep doing it, for reasons beyond my knowledge. The man hates me. Fuck my life. Top comments. Commenter 1. And here you are, still blaming everyone else for your own actions. Do your future partners a favor and stay single until you're willing to accept the consequences of your actions. Commenter 2. Why are you still this obsessed 2 years later about a guy you said didn't excite you much? It seems like you became much more interested once he was no longer available to you. I think it's more about wanting what you can't have. That wraps up the first story. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Now, let's move on to the second story. Caught my husband, 32-year-old male, texting his ex, 29-year-old female, while I, a 30-year-old female, was pregnant. What's the best way to move forward? I am usually good at trusting my instincts, but this one is really messing with my head. Basically, my husband told me that he was on friendly terms with his last and only ex-girlfriend. He said they chatted every now and then just to wish each other happy birthday, and that was the extent of it. However, a few days after our baby was born, I saw a notification from her on his phone and asked about it. He said he had sent her pictures of our baby girl. I felt weirded out by this, because I don't think I would ever send pictures of my newborn to my ex. My ex would be the last person I'd send pictures of my newborn to. I told him it made me uncomfortable that he was still talking to his ex and sending pictures of our newborn, and I asked him to stop talking to her. About 4 months later, he wanted to show me a video on his Facebook account. When he opened it on his computer, there was a conversation with his ex. I tried to read it, but he instantly snatched the computer from me and closed it. I asked him why he reacted that way, and if there wasn't anything bad, why he wouldn't let me read it. He didn't let me read it, and we got into an argument about it, but in the end we moved on, even though the doubt was still always on my mind. Fast forward again, and now our baby is 1 year old. My husband left his phone unlocked when he went to the bathroom, and I don't know what came over me, but I saw my chance and I took it. I read through his messages on WhatsApp with his ex, and basically he had been messaging her for about a 2-month period while I was pregnant. The conversation started with them talking about our pregnancy for a bit, but then it almost seemed like talking about the pregnancy was more of an excuse to chat with each other. They talked all day, every day, for 2 months. I was away for one of those months visiting family, and they even had calls during that time. On various occasions, she would ask him where his wife was, and he would say that I was sleeping, or that I was away, or with friends. They started talking about their past together, and she basically said to him that if he just said the word, she would get back together with him without thinking twice. He never said the same thing back, but he also didn't put a stop to the conversation. He sort of entertained it, and just said he was in an awkward position, but that he understood where she was coming from and wanted to keep in touch with her regardless of our marriage and our soon-to-be-born baby. She kept saying how happy she was that they had kept in touch and that they had such an amazing connection. At one point, she asked him if he was sure it was okay to be having those conversations since he had a wife, and he said to her, "Don't worry, you're not the one doing anything wrong." They also sent each other pictures throughout the day of what they were doing. The thing that annoys me the most is that he was sending her the same pictures of his day as he was sending me. Like, what the fuck, man? After a while, he stopped replying to her, which I assume was because I had asked him to stop talking to her. I confronted him about the messages when I saw them, and he tried to play it down like it was nothing. His excuse was that they both had to have those chats and calls because they were trying to get closure before our baby came. But her messages were full on saying she still wanted to be with him, so I don't know what to think. On one hand, I feel so much rage against him and her, and the thought of them flirting while I was pregnant makes me feel so down and like they were almost laughing behind my back. It honestly makes me feel like such a loser. On the other hand, I can see that he stopped replying when I asked him to, and he seems to know what he did was wrong. He has been super apologetic and says I'm the only person he's actually ever loved and only wants to be with me, and that he will never do anything like that ever again. I asked him to never talk to her again, and to delete her from his phone and his social media. He did it without any hesitation, and has been trying to be very reassuring ever since. I almost feel bad to keep bringing it up because he makes it seem like it was in the past, and that he has no feelings at all toward her. He's also not happy he went through his phone, which is fair enough. My husband is a very gentle and easygoing person, kind of nerdy and quiet. I never thought he'd do something like this, which also makes me feel like maybe he really didn't have bad intentions. But at the same time, I have to believe the evidence and not make excuses for him. I want to be with him and continue our life as a family, but I feel like I can't fully trust him anymore. I try to be fine with him and move on, but then the thoughts of the messages come back to me, and I get angry at him again. What's the best way for us to move forward in our relationship, given the circumstances? Update. I wanted to give an update on my previous post from a year ago. I read back on my original post, and it's been eye-opening for me. It made me realize I had very low self-esteem and had been extremely codependent on him for a long time. Basically, after I found out he had emotionally cheated on me, I separated from him because of the anger and resentment I felt. We were separated for 2 months. He begged that we get back together, and at the time I couldn't stand the feeling of being alone, and the thought of our daughter growing up in a separated family made me feel awful. I got back together with him on the condition that he had to go to therapy. This was around April 2025. However, as with many toxic relationship cycles, he changed just enough in the beginning to keep me happy until he got comfortable again and no longer put in the effort. He went to 3 therapy sessions and never went back, using the excuse that the therapist he had was too far away from where we lived. To give more context, the cheating wasn't the only thing wrong in our relationship. We fought constantly due to a lack of communication skills on both sides, and neither of us felt heard or understood. On my end, I felt like he had emotionally detached himself from me since my pregnancy and was avoiding attachment throughout our relationship. This really affected me and left me feeling quite isolated. He was never emotionally or physically affectionate toward me, and his only way of showing he cared about me, according to him, was that he contributed to household chores. The rest of 2025 was a mix of small moments of reconnection that would last 3 days at most, followed by huge arguments that left us broken for weeks. On top of that, I always had his affair in the back of my mind and felt like I couldn't trust him. However, in July 2025, I got a really great job and my focus shifted to this job. I started feeling appreciated in my job and was surrounded by a whole team of dynamic people that made me want to be a better version of myself and rooted for me and praised me for my well-done job. I felt validated again and worthy. I guess my job saved my low self-esteem and gave me perspective of my self-worth. It also allowed me to compare my husband to the people I was working with, and personality-wise, they felt way more aligned with me than my husband ever was. Also, my husband had previously always wanted to work at this company, but was never successful. So when I got the job, it felt like he was happy for me at a very mediocre level. He would often try to find the bad in the company and talk badly about it instead of just being happy for me in this chapter of my life. This really put me off. But because I was so focused on my new job, I think I pushed aside all the negative feelings I had about my relationship and buried my intuition so that I could do well in this new role instead of being sidetracked by my relationship. I think at this point, I was tired of constantly having my relationship problems overshadow anything good in my life. I also really badly wanted to gaslight myself into thinking everything was going to work out and I would have the perfect life I hoped to have if I just powered through the negatives. We were about to buy a house together and everything. However, in November 2025 we moved into his parents' house, as we had to leave our apartment as it was being sold by the landlord. I initially wanted to rent somewhere else in the meantime instead of moving in with his parents, but he made me feel really guilty for wanting to spend money on rent while we could live with his family until we bought a house. I felt like I had no choice and had no control over the situation, as he said he wouldn't contribute towards the rent if we rented a place. We fought a lot over this, and I felt I wasn't being heard, and it was so bad I started having panic attacks at work. At that point, I felt like my work was my happy escape, and I didn't want to go back home and spend time with my husband. However, because I was easily manipulated and wanted to avoid conflict, I agreed to staying with his parents. This was a blessing in disguise. A week into living at his parents' house, we were both stressed one day as our daughter was crying and nothing we could do would calm her. When I asked for him to help me instead of just watching me try everything, he replied with a "fuck off" and stormed into the kitchen where his mother was. I followed him to the kitchen to tell him, very calmly might I add, to not talk to me like that. At that point his mother got involved and defended him, and then it became a 2-against-1 circus. They both were saying what they truly thought of me, and it wasn't pretty. All the while my daughter was on my hip crying. If all the previous red flags weren't clear, this one really hit me in the face. I left that day and have filed for divorce since. He's been trying to get back with me ever since, but at this point the horrible feeling of isolation and dread from the divorce feel 1,000 times better than being with him. In a way, I'm relieved and so excited to start connecting with myself again and living a life without the overshadowing that my relationship issues cast over my life. However, I'm also really sad as I'm grieving the family life I wished I had and the life partner I thought he would be. I definitely focused on his potential rather than seeing him for who he was. Hopefully in another year's time, I can come back with a positive update of how my life has panned out post-divorce. But as of now, I just have to get through each moment a day at a time. Original poster wrote, "Thanks to everyone for the encouraging messages. It's easy to spiral sometimes into thinking I won't be able to make it on my own, but honestly reading all the messages has helped me believe in myself a bit more during this difficult time." Teddy Lamb commented, "It really sounds like you've done a lot of hard and honest self-reflection. You're looking further down the road and choosing a better life for you and your daughter, and it takes an incredible amount of strength. Wishing you strength and peace as you rebuild something that actually feels safe and true to you. You're going to be a great mom for your daughter." Brainy Brink commented, "You're going to be so much better off without him. Sometimes swimming alone feels scary because we've been barely treading water for so long. Then you realize what you were hoping was a life preserver was an anchor, and you can finally pull yourself to dry land. Good luck. You can do it." Barely commented, "Nice analogy." With that, we wrap up story 2. Now, let's move on to story 3. My boyfriend, 30-year-old male, secretly invited his parents to move into our house without telling me. Throwaway because my boyfriend and his friends use Reddit. So, I've been with my boyfriend for 4 years, living together for almost 2. We bought a house together last year. We had a lot of talks beforehand about boundaries, financial planning, and how important it was for both of us to feel like this was our space. Last week, my boyfriend casually mentioned that his parents might stay with us for a while. I assumed he meant a week or 2, maybe up to a month. Fine. They live out of state, and I know they've been struggling financially, so I didn't think too much of it. Well, I found out yesterday, from his mother-in-law, not even from my boyfriend, that the plan isn't just a visit. Apparently my boyfriend told them they could move in with us indefinitely. As in, they've already sold their place and are arriving next weekend with a moving truck. I was stunned. I confronted my boyfriend immediately, and he acted like it wasn't a big deal. He said, "They're my parents, of course they have a place here." When I told him that a permanent arrangement was never discussed and that I didn't consent to it, he got defensive. He said I was being cold and ungrateful. and accused me of hating his family. For context, I don't hate his parents. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are fine in small doses, but they're very traditional and openly critical of me for not being wife material. We're not married, and I have no plans to quit my career. My mother-in-law has made comments about how she'd love to help raise the kids, even though we don't want children right now. My father-in-law is the kind of guy who thinks women belong in the kitchen, so the idea of them living with us full-time is challenging. I feel completely betrayed. My boyfriend made a massive, life-altering decision without my input, one that directly impacts our home. He keeps brushing it off like I'm overreacting. I honestly don't even know how to come back from this. How should we deal with this? Long story short, my boyfriend promised his parents they could move into our house without telling me. I feel betrayed and completely overwhelmed. User, Echoshia. It's a real shame you aren't married. It would make the legalities for selling the house cleaner. There is nothing to fix here, author. This is not a betrayal that you can fix. You don't need to fix him or try and get over this. You should not. Get a lawyer. The parents aren't in your house yet? Great. Get a lawyer before they move in. Your relationship should be over. This man does not respect and care about you. I'm sorry to be blunt, but there is no way to deal with this. There is only you, and whether or not you're going to lay down like a doormat and pay for their house. User, Allierswift. This is the answer. Lawyer, house sale, breakup. He used her money to buy his parents a house. User, Binky390. The last line is so important. I hope author reads it. Also, how does a traditional man like the boyfriend's father justify not being able to put a roof over his wife's head anymore? Things happen, and it's understandable that so many are facing such hard times financially, but it's not understandable to talk about the roles of women when, as the man, you should be able to provide for your household. Someone who believes in traditional gender roles would believe that. Update. First, thank you to everyone who commented and offered support. Reading your messages really helped me feel seen and validated during all of this. Sorry it took me so long to post an update. Everything got tied up with lawyers and paperwork, and I wanted it settled before sharing. My ex ended up buying me out of the house. Best decision I've ever made. I walked away, had a fresh start, and no dead weight attached to me. I got my own place, got lucky with a very small apartment, left all furniture behind as most was his anyway, focused on work, and honestly my life has been calm, stable, and better than it's ever been. Meanwhile, he got exactly what he thought he wanted. The house with his parents in it. And it's been an absolute train wreck. They moved in permanently, and within days, it was obvious they see him less as a son and more as their live-in caretaker. They expect him to cover all the bills, cook, clean, and drop everything for them. They nitpick every little thing, criticize how he runs the house, and remind him daily of everything they ever did for him. He's working longer hours just to keep up financially, and the house that was supposed to be his pride and joy has basically become their space, not his. He has no privacy, no downtime, and no control. From what mutual friends have told me, he's burned out, bitter, and constantly snapping at everyone around him. When I confronted him about why he didn't even tell me about their move-in, he said, "If I told you, you would have said no, and I couldn't let them down." That line still blows my mind. He admitted point blank that my opinion never mattered. He saw me as a roadblock, not a partner. So yeah, I dodged a bullet. He chained himself to the exact life I refused to accept, and now he's drowning in it. I got out clean, and I don't regret a thing. So, I guess life's going pretty well. Edit. I see a bunch of people calling this post fake because all of this got resolved in 2 weeks. Honestly, that's fair, as it does seem fake. To be honest with you all, I wrote that first post for validation because I thought I was going crazy. I was either hoping people would push me to act or tell me to calm down and take the chill pill. I already had a lawyer and paperwork prepared so I could pull it out immediately if necessary, or put it away and pretend this never happened. Since I was not willing to live in that situation, I gave my ex the papers, and he pretty much agreed with no fuss. He paid with his own money, dipped a bit into his savings, and things moved fast. Pick a Switch says, "Ain't that the best, when a relationship ends and you know with absolute certainty that they regret it? He reaped exactly what he sowed." Tight_Jaguar_3881 says, "He wanted her to help support and care for his parents like a slave." Pale Earnhardt says, "I'm sure he banked on her to be the caretaker, not him." Thank you so much for watching until the end. Let me know in the comments what you think about these stories, and which one impacted you the most. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who enjoys Reddit stories too. I'll see you in the next one.